All right, this is Adam The Annihilator here with,
Mike Armenia.
and what happened here today?
Well, today I was invited to give a talk on energy, climate, and environment to the Charlestown Current Events group, and they were extremely interested and asked a lot of great questions.
Oh, cool. So, maybe summarize some of your presentation. Like, what were the things that you touched upon?
Well, the things that we touched about were comparing all the different kinds of energy that are used all over the world to determine which ones are effective and cost effective and which do the best for the environment or the least harm for the environment. And I've pretty much convinced everybody here to take another look at nuclear because it is very much different nowadays with the newest types of reactors than it was back in the day when we had only these big ones that could melt down. So the current reactors that we've been working on the last 10 years, and I've built reactors, can't melt down and can't explode and do very little harm to the environment. And you can walk away from them safely without having to worry about any damage. The whole idea of using energy in this country is going to be taking a pretty big turn right now with the new administration because the kinds of things that can be done with shale gas and fracking are very important because gas can reduce CO2 emissions, if you're worried about them, by about 1/2 immediately. And then my group, the Energy Council of Rhode Island, are advocating that we do that first, natural gas, go to mostly natural gas, and then in 2 decades, try to get our nuclear capability back to the point where we can build these advanced reactors. Our current problem is regulation. We have so much regulation that ties our hands that the only country that is really advancing quickly with these small, safe reactors is China. And in fact, our US government has helped China build the most advanced reactor ever in the world, the thorium molten salt reactor. It's running now, and it should be only a few years before China can export that. And at that point in time, we've kind of lost our energy dominance because it will be cheap burning thorium instead of uranium. So that's the main message.
Okay, and what do you say to people that are kind of scared of the word nuclear? Because it is scary if you don't know.
Yeah. So nuclear, you have a right to be scared of nuclear if a bomb is going to be dropped on your head, because that radiation, well, first of all, the blast will kill you, but the radiation is going to be acute. People that think that meltdowns are like nuclear bombs are wrong. The worst meltdown ever was at Chernobyl in Russia in 1986, and it killed less than 100 people. Russia told its firefighters to go in and put out a fire and didn't tell them that it was a nuclear accident, and 52 died within 2 days, and another 50 died within maybe a week. But after that, nobody died, and Russia sent in 600,000 different people for short periods of time to make that reactor site safe again, which it is now. You can go there as a tourist. But those 600,000 people only stayed for a short time.
Right.
And they didn't, and none of them are sick.
Wow. Okay, so now in regards to offshore wind and just wind power in general, what's your take on that?
Well, offshore wind and solar, for that matter, are very dilute fuels. In other words, they take up large land areas and produce almost insignificant amounts of energy compared to what the world really needs. So in the last 20 years, offshore wind, or wind in general, and solar have provided less than 5% of the world's energy usage. And that number is not going to change. It'll go down. And the reason that it's so insignificant, solar and wind, is because our growth in energy over the past 10 years, say, has gone up significantly higher than offshore wind and solar could provide. So 2 or 3% for wind, 2 or 3% for solar in the world, that's where we stand now, and that number is not going to change no matter what we do, because most of the world burns fossil fuel.
Okay. So what would you encourage people to do? Is there anything that they can do to get this word out there?
Well, The thing that I'm doing, which is part of a group that's been formed in Rhode Island called the Energy Council of Rhode Island, is basically do the kind of education that we're doing today. It would be great if we could get our local governments and our state governments to sit down and listen to us, but that's very hard to do since most of them have bought into wind and solar as being renewables that are going to run the state and the country. That's absolutely impossible to do, but for some reason they bought in. So what I advocate is a sort of energy policy insurance. In other words, have engineers do something that satisfies both the political conundrum that we're in as well as the physical problem of providing enough energy. And for me, that turns out to be, or for my group, the Energy Council, it turns out to be switch to natural gas as quickly as you can. Rhode Island right now is producing all its in-state energy from natural gas. Go completely natural gas. That cuts your emissions in half immediately. And then in 2 decades, go to nuclear, the small modular nuclear reactors, and do that before China does. We make nuclear submarines here in Rhode Island. Why can't we make the reactors, and why can't we bring in businesses that will thrive on a stable amount of power, like the artificial intelligence farms that Bill Gates and others want to bring here?